Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. How y'all doing? Listen, we're about to get into a good conversation today. A good conversation today. We're going to be talking about the money lie that high achieving women keep believing and what it's costing you. Okay. We're just going to jump right into this. Listen, I am so glad that you are here for this conversation because I want to talk to you about something that I truly wish that someone had said to me about 10 years ago, about 20 years ago, when I was growing up my whole life. And I don't want to talk about this in a lecture kind of way, y'all. I want to talk it in, like in a sit down. I need to tell you something kind of way. So go get your water, your coffee, your tea, your wine, some snacks, whatever it is that you're going to need to sustain yourself through this conversation, because it's going to be a good one. I want you to think about the last time you were exhausted. When was the last time you were exhausted? I mean, like bone tired, exhausted, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. When was the last time that was? And I want you to think about what you told yourself in that moment. What did you tell yourself? What was the story that you told yourself? Because I'm going to guess it was something like this. If you are like me, then it was something like this. This is what it takes. I just need to push through. Or maybe you didn't even have the words for it, right? You just kept going because, I mean, again, if you're like me, and I was just trained up in this. This is just what we do, right? And that's just what high achieving women do. That's just what we do. We push, we perform, we produce, and then somewhere along the way, we picked up the belief that has been running our entire financial lives. And it's a belief that is so deeply embedded that it doesn't even feel like a belief anymore. It just feels like a fact. And that belief is more work equals more money. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? If you believe that, or if you have believed that, drop a number 1 in the chat. Do you believe work harder, earn more? Put in more hours, you get more results. Stay longer, show up earlier, take on more projects, say yes to more requests, and then eventually, your income will start to reflect the effort. I know I'm not the only one that was taught this. Okay. Listen, I need you to stay with me for this one because I'm not just going to be talking about hustle culture in, a broad sense, in a vague inspirational quote kind of way. I'm talking about something specific here, something that is costing high achieving women thousands of dollars every single year. And I'm talking about something that's working against your identity and not with it. Because here's what I know about you. You are not lazy. You have never been lazy. If anything, the problem is the complete opposite of lazy. The problem is that you've been performing at a level that your paycheck has never really matched. And I want you to be honest in the chat if you're watching live, in the comment section if you're watching the replay. Have you ever felt like your effort and your income are completely misaligned? Drop a yes or a no. In the chat if you're watching live, in the comments if you're watching the replay. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Let me tell you something. I spent years in corporate environments watching women, brilliant, credentialed, capable, high-performing women work themselves to the ground, chasing titles, raises, and these things never really caught up to what they were worth. And I watched these women believe with everything that they had that the solution to making more money was to do more, to get another certification, to work through the weekends and the nights, to take on extra projects, to prove themselves one more time. And guess what, y'all? I was one of those women. So I am certainly not pointing fingers from some elevated position here. I am talking from the inside of that experience. But here's the thing, what I didn't understand then, and what I want you to walk away conversation, is that the more work equals more money. That is not a strategy at all. It's a ceiling. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott. I am the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform designed to help women turn their existing skills into coaching income, digital products, and online businesses so they can earn more, depend less on traditional employment, and design a life on their terms. If you haven't already, go get your notebook and your pen or whatever it is you take notes on. Share the link to this video in the group chat and text it to your biz bestie, because we are about to get into this conversation that I feel like it's one that needs to be had, but it's not had. There's a lot of unlearning that a lot of us need to do. There's a lot of recognition of some of the things that we were taught as we were growing up. They're not necessarily truths that hold in today's time, in today's age, in today's economic situations. Okay. So here's what I want you to consider. The idea that your income is directly tied to your hours, it was designed for a different era, right? It was a different time. It was a different century, right? It was a different decade. It was designed for factory floors and punch clocks and a world where your output was literally measured in units per hour. Okay, so I'm not saying that, this was something that wasn't true. Like these things that were passed on to us, at one point, this was true. But somewhere in the translation from that world, back in the day, I mean really back in the day, right? Not when like way back in the day. Somewhere in that translation from way back then to what the world looks like now, women inherited that model without even questioning it. I think inherited is the right word, right? Because I just think about the way that I grew up, and I was primarily raised by my dad, and he is an Army veteran. And I just want you to get a frame around the kind of man that raised me. And he had very, very high standards. He still has very high standards. And he has two daughters, me and my sister. And I'm the oldest. And so the standards were especially high for me, right? And I can just remember some of the lessons that I can still hear him saying in my head. You have to work 10 times harder to get, even one step ahead. You have to put in the work. Like if you want it, you have to work. So I think inherit is exactly the right word to use here, because that was probably something that my grandmother and my grandfather instilled in him. And that's something that he instilled in us. And so it just goes on generation by generation, right? And so that's what we were taught. That's what I was taught. Am I the only one? If you were also taught some of these same ideas that are disguised as strategy, drop a number 1 in the chat. Because if you're like me, you went to school, you built a career, you climbed the ladder, and you were told, maybe not so directly, and maybe it was direct, that the way that you get up, the way that you make it to the next level is through performance, it's through excellence, it's through visibility within the structure you're already in, right? Go to the happy hours. Let them know a little bit about you personally. Listen, I know I'm not the only one. And here's the thing, that structure rewarded you sometimes, right? It rewarded you enough to keep you believing it. But I want to ask you something, and I want you to think about it then, before you answer it immediately. When was the last time your income grew without you adding more of your time to the equation? Like, really think about that. When was the last time your income grew without you adding more of your time to the equation? For most high achieving women, the honest answer is rarely. And it's probably never, because the entire model that we've been operating inside, it ties compensation to presence, it ties it to hours, it ties it to availability. And when the way to earn more is always to give more, you eventually hit a wall that no amount of excellence can push you through. And that wall has a name, y'all. It's called time. Time, a 4-letter word. And you only have so much time. Listen, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, has your income grown in the last 2 years without you adding more hours? Yes or no? Let me know. Let me know. Drop it in the chat. Has your income grown in the last 2 years without you adding more hours? Because I want to introduce you to a different way to look at this, because this is where things for me and hopefully for you start to get interesting. The more work, more money belief, it doesn't just affect your paycheck. It affects your identity. It shapes how you see yourself, and what you think you deserve. And honestly, it affects what you think is possible for you outside the structure that you're already in. When your entire model of earning is rooted in trading time for dollars, the idea of income that doesn't require that trade, it feels risky, right? It might even feel a little suspicious to you. Like, I don't have to put in more hours to make more money. Like, that can't be real. Like, it's for other people and not you. Like you'd have to become somebody different. You have to be some inauthentic version of yourself in order to access it. And that is the part that I want to push back on, not because the concern isn't valid, because it is, but because the version of you that already exists, the one who is showing up, the one who is performing, the one who is leading, the one who is teaching, the one who is solving, the one who is advising and carries the weight in rooms where you're often undervalued, that part of you already has everything you need. You don't have to become someone new to build a second stream of income. You have to recognize what you already are and who you already are. And here's the deal. High achieving women are skilled. They are deeply skilled, specifically practically skilled. And skills aren't just the thing you do at work. They're leverage. They're a vehicle. They literally are the currency of a completely different income model. And it's one that isn't built on hours. It's built on transformation. It's built on what you can help someone else do, understand, or become. And that right there is a very different ceiling. And I want you to spend some time. I want to spend some time today in this conversation showing you what it looks like when you stop trying to earn more inside of a broken system and start building something that truly reflects what you're worth. That truly reflects what you're worth. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now, let me paint a picture for you. And I want you to notice if any of this feels familiar, because this is the part where we get very specific here. You are good at what you do. You've been good at it for years. You have the results, the receipts, the recommendations. When something goes wrong at work, someone calls you. When a new project, surfaces, you're the one that they tap. You're the person that people go to when they need something done right. Am I right? Okay. And you are chronically and consistently underpaid for all of that. And it's not dramatically. It's not in a way that anyone would flag it as an obvious injustice, right? It's just, perpetually. And it's in a way that your raise never really quite keeps pace with your responsibilities. It's in the way that you've taken on work of 2 positions and you're still holding the title and the salary of 1 position. It's in the way that you said yes to that extra project 6 months ago and you're still doing it. You're still not getting paid for it, and you're still waiting to be recognized for it. If this is resonating for you, I want you to drop a number 2 in the chat because you're not alone. You are not alone. And the thing is, you're not complaining about it. I'm not a complainer. Like, just in general in life, I'm not a complainer. Sometimes I wish I was, but I'm not a complainer because that's just what high achieving women do. We don't complain. You're a problem solver. You are strategizing what the next move is. You're planning out how to make this work harder, right? You're thinking about another certification. You're thinking about your next title. You're thinking about, the next transfer in your company. You're thinking about the next level. You're a visionary. And that's not wrong at all, because that's your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do. But let me show you something that your brain may not have fully considered yet. The income that you're earning right now, that's inside your current structure, it has a growth rate, right? And it's probably somewhere between 2 and 4% of an annual raise. And you might get more if you negotiate well, and you will likely get less if you are comfortable where you are, right? And I would say that most women don't even ask for more. They just take whatever the thing is that's given to them. And that growth rate, it compounds over time. Yes, it does, but it compounds on a number that your employer controls. And if you're like most women, you're already starting behind the curve because we're paid less. And if you're a Black woman, you're paid all the way at the bottom. Okay. We are the least paid in companies, hands down, no matter what the title is. So you're already starting in arrears. Is that the right word? You're already starting behind. So yes, that 2 to 4%, it compounds, but it compounds on that number. And let's be clear, whatever your salary is, 6 figures. I was making a good 6-figure salary in the position that I was laid off this year. A very good 6-figure salary. In fact, I was making more money than I had ever made in my life in that position. And to know that I was still not making as much money as, somebody else on my team who had the same title, it blows my mind simply because of all of the demographic reasons. But my point is, your salary, it affects more than just this 2 to 4% annual raise. It affects your 401k percentages, and it affects everything else that rolls downstream from there. Okay. So yes, the 2 to 4%, it compounds. Yes, the amount that you're able to put into retirement, it compounds, but it's compounding off of that baseline number that your employer controls, that somebody somewhere decided that that's what you were worth. And this is literally on a ceiling that someone else set. It's on a system that was never designed to make you wealthy. The number is set on a system that was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you dependent. It was designed to make you reliable. The whole time, the skills that you're using to earn that income, the ones that make you the person that people call, those skills have market value that's completely separate from what your employer has decided to pay you for them. And again, if you're new here, if you're just tuning in, if you've never seen my content before, I want you to understand that I am not anti-corporate at all. I am not anti 9 to 5. I am not telling anybody to go quit their job and blow up their stability. That's not what I do. But what I do encourage you to do is to start to create options. If you're climbing this ladder, build another one right alongside it, because we are in some times, and I'm probably going to get to this a little bit more later in this conversation, but in these economic times, we just cannot put all of our eggs in one basket anymore. And listen, the gap between what the market will pay you for your skills and what your employer is currently paying you, that gap is where your second income stream lives. That's what I am pro. I'm not anti-corporate. I am pro multiple streams of income. I am pro leverage. And this is the thing, what I'm teaching is not theory, it's math. So when a woman with 15 years of experience in HR or healthcare or education or project management or finance or operations, when she turns those skills into a coaching business or a consulting business, she's not creating something from nothing. She's finally pricing herself at the market rate for the first time in her career. And it's not hustle. That's just a correction. That is just a correction. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Here's a perspective that I think will shift something else for you. Again, that more work equals more money model, it asks you to scale your income by scaling your effort, right? But a skills-based income stream, that asks you to scale your income by scaling your impact. And one of those models has a ceiling and the other one doesn't. Here's the thing. You have been scaling your effort for years. It might be time to start scaling your impact instead. Somebody drop impact in the chat. Listen, your 9 to 5 was never a backup plan. It's never been a backup plan. It's always been a risk. And it's riskier now than it's ever been before. And I want to talk about something that a lot of women tiptoe around. And I'm not going to tiptoe around it. Your job is not guaranteed. And I'm not just saying that because I lost my job. I'm saying it because literally hundreds of thousands of people have lost their jobs over the past 12 months. Just in the past 12 months. Just this week, someone from my community, Lena, shout out to Lena if you're watching, informed me, because I hadn't seen the news yet, just this week, 4,800 people were laid off or going to get laid off from Microsoft. 4,800 people, hundreds of thousands, over 500,000 Black women have lost their jobs. So I'm not just saying that your job is not guaranteed because I was laid off. I'm just saying it because it's a fact. And I know that it might sound a little heavy. And I say it with full sincerity and zero judgment because I lived through it. And if you haven't heard this story before, I'm just going to tell it real quick. I was laid off in March of this year, March 4th, 2026. I led content marketing. I had a very good role for a good company. I will never badmouth the company. That company literally changed my life. I had already told you I had a very good 6-figure salary, great benefits, remote work, all the things. And then one morning, it was just over. And the thing that saved me, y'all, the thing that made that moment survivable for me, and honestly, in hindsight, it was even freeing. It was because I had already been building something else alongside that job. Remember, I said you can climb the ladder and then build a ladder right next to it? That's what I was doing. I had already started treating my skills as an asset that I owned rather than a resource I rented to my job. Let me ask you something. And you can just answer yes or no in the chat. Has job insecurity ever crossed your mind? When you see those layoff headlines, does it make you feel like, dang, what if I'm next? Yes or no? And I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm saying this because the safety conversation around income is one of the most important conversations that women are not having enough of. And they're not having it often enough. And when we do have it, it's usually in the context of savings accounts, right? We're talking about savings accounts. We're talking about retirement funds, and those matter too, 100%. It is rare. We rarely have these conversations about income diversification, true income streams coming into your bank account in a diversified way. And here's what I want you to consider. We talk about diversification constantly in the context of investing, right? You don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So even if you have a 401k or 403b, if you're in education, I think it's what it's called, or whatever your investment portfolio is called, you're taught to spread your portfolio, right? To reduce your risk exposure. That is literally financial literacy 101, 101. But we almost never apply that same logic to our income. And here is the thing, people do not say this enough. Your income is the thing that funds every single other thing else. Every single other thing else, your income funds that. So when your only income stream is your job, you're not just underpaid relative to your skills, you're exposed. You're literally one decision from someone in a boardroom you've never sat in. This person can reshape your entire financial reality like that. And that's not a failure of your performance or your excellence. That is just employment. That is the nature of the structure and the system of employment. Again, employment and jobs and 9 to 5, they're not here. They've never been the thing that's going to make you wealthy and free you. You know, people are leaving the country, the United States, in droves because they want to get off the hamster wheel, right? Because they can't figure out a way out. Multiple income streams are not a luxury, y'all. They used to, I mean, maybe they were at some point, I don't know, but they're definitely not a luxury anymore. Multiple streams of income are the most logical risk mitigation strategy available to a skilled professional. And it's not about greed. It is not about grinding. It is about building a financial life that doesn't have a single point of failure. That's what this is about. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. So your 9 to 5 was never designed to be your backup plan. It was always the risk. You just stopped seeing it as one. It's always been a risk. Now, I know what some people might be thinking because I thought it too. Nick, I don't have time to build something else on top of everything else that I'm doing. And here's the thing. I hear you and I want to honor it. But here's the distinction that I want to make. There's a difference between building another job and building another income stream. Because a job is asking you for your time indefinitely, whereas a second income stream is asking for your skills in a very strategic way and in a way that can generate income without requiring you to trade hours at a 1-to-1 ratio forever. And that's exactly what a skills-based coaching offer, that's exactly what it can do for you. And I want to be very clear about something. When I say coaching, I'm not talking about becoming a life coach with a generic Instagram account and a vision board. Although if that's what you want to do, I think that's great. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the specific applied practical skills that you've spent years developing and then packaging it in a way that lets you serve people who need exactly what you know. So let's talk about a few examples, right? I worked with an HR professional, which is why I like to use the example of HR professionals. So HR professional who helps new managers navigate their first 90 days. That's a coach. A nurse who coaches healthcare workers through licensing transitions, a teacher who helps other educators build supplemental income, a project manager who advises small business owners on operations, or a nonprofit director who consults with emerging organizations on strategy and governance. That is coaching. It is specific, it is credible, it is skills-based. And it's one of the most accessible premium income streams that is available to women right now because the barriers to entry are lower than ever and the demand is higher than ever. The most underutilized asset in your financial portfolio right now, it's not a stock. It's your own skills. It is your own skills. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now, I want to talk about what happens in the mind of a woman who makes this shift, because it's not just a financial shift, it's an identity shift, and it's a profound identity shift. So when you start to see your skills as an asset that you own rather than a service you provide in exchange for a biweekly paycheck, something changes in how you carry yourself. Something changes in how you make decisions and how you evaluate opportunities. It changes in how you respond when your employer, when your manager does something that doesn't serve you. Because at this point, now you have options. And when you have options, when you feel like you have a choice in something, it changes everything. Like, it's such an empowering position to be in. I talked about my layoff a little bit earlier. Listen, the thing that saved me, it wasn't my resume. It wasn't my network, although I have a very strong network, very connected network. It was the fact that I had already been building something on the side. So instead, I'm not saying that I wasn't affected. I've told my whole layoff story a few times here on Nick at Noon and in other areas on the internet if you're interested to go see. But I had been building Her Income Edit. So when the layoff happened, all I had to do was figure out what it is that I was going to lean into. Even if I wanted to go and put my resume back out there, I still have this thing that I could still be building while I'm waiting to get interviews, right? Because it can take up to a year or more to find another job. So when you have income that doesn't depend 100% on your employer, you negotiate different, you set boundaries different, you make career decisions based on alignment and fulfillment rather than out of fear. You stop staying in rooms that don't value you because you finally have somewhere else to be. Listen, y'all, options aren't the outcome of success. Options are the definition of success. Let me ask you another question. And you can drop it in the chat, or you can just jot it down in your notebook or your journal, whatever it is that you're taking notes on. What would change in your life if your income didn't depend on one employer? Now, I want to be very transparent with you about something. A lot of content in this space, it'll tell you that building a second income stream is simple. It'll say it's fast. And this content in this space will tell you that it requires almost no effort. And I don't think so. I want to give you a real answer, because it does require effort. It does. It requires clarity. It requires you to get specific about what you know, who you can help, and what you're willing to offer. It requires you to price yourself at what you're worth. It requires you to build some kind of way for people to find you and to trust you and to say yes to you. But what it doesn't require, though, is for you to start from scratch. It doesn't require you to become somebody different. It doesn't require you to have a huge social media audience or a complicated funnel and tech setup or years of building anything before you make $1. What it does require is strategy that matches your skills to a problem. You can take this to market that works exactly where you are right now. That is it. That right there is the whole model. And that is exactly what I want to show you more of. That is exactly why Her Income Edit exists, right? You heard me say it in the introduction. We're an online education platform where we help women turn their existing skills into coaching, income, digital products, and online businesses so that they can start to create more options for themselves and depend less on traditional employment, so that they can start to create freedom and flexibility for their future, for their family, and for their legacy. That is why we exist. So let me tell you something, something that I've built over here, because I think it connects to everything that we've been talking about here. Something that I created, something that I developed, something that I sell. I have a micro course called 2K in 2 hours. And the reason that I created this course is because I kept seeing women who have all this experience. I kept seeing women who are brilliant, but they're underpaid. And I kept seeing women who were completely paralyzed when it came to translating what they know into something that they could sell. And it's not because they lacked skills, because, high achieving women, we are always overflowing with skills, professional and personal skills. But it's because no one had ever shown these women the specific steps to go from, you know what, I know this thing, and take them from that to someone who just got paid for this thing. And that is what this micro course does. So it will take you 2 focused hours of work. I don't teach theory, I teach facts. So there's not going to be a lot of fluff or filler or hypotheticals in here. We work through, in this micro course, we work through how to identify the skills you already have that are most marketable for you right now. We work through how to structure and offer around those skills. And then we talk about pricing, not pricing from fear, which is where most people start. And then we talk about how to position yourself to get this thing sold. It's a practical and specific micro course. Is designed for the woman who you're tired of the vague inspiration and you're too busy for anything that doesn't move you forward. If you really want to move the needle on this, I do invite you to go check out 2K in 2 hours, because right now it is available at a price point that I feel real good about, because I don't want price to be the thing that stops you from getting moving. Okay. I have removed that obstacle for you with the price of this. If you want to learn more, or, if you can go get it, just go get it at my website at herincomeedit.com/2K. The link is also down in the description. Because the most expensive thing that you can do right now is to keep waiting for the perfect moment to start valuing yourself differently. So 2K in 2 hours, it is available for you right now today on my website at herincomeedit.com/2K. And here's the thing. You have spent years, maybe decades, being excellent inside of a system that was not designed to fully compensate you for your excellence. And you have done it with class, you have done it with grace, you have done it with professionalism, and you've done it without complaining and without bitterness in your heart. That's not failure. That's evidence. It is evidence that you can show up at a high level even when the incentives are not aligned. It is evidence that you can deliver results. It is evidence that you have skills that matter to this world. Now, I want you to imagine what you can build when the incentives are finally aligned with your effort. When your income reflects your impact. When there is a model, when it's something that you designed. Here's the thing about all this, y'all. You were never the problem. Ever. You were always the most underutilized asset in the room. And I want you to build something that knows your worth, okay? So I want to, as always, thank each and every one of you for popping in and out of today's live. I saw you, saw the love. Thanks so much for joining. Listen, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on YouTube and turn your notifications on. If this conversation, lit something up in you, if you related to anything that I said about high achieving women, send the link to this video to a high achieving woman in your life. Let her listen to it. Let her, feel this thing out. My name is Nick Scott. This has been another episode of Nick at Noon. I am here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Mountain Time. We cover all things strategy, tools, and mindset when it comes to coaching income, digital products, and online businesses. If that is something that you are interested in and learning how to take your skills and turning it into income, again, I invite you to subscribe. I invite you into my ecosystem. Check out the description. There are tons of resources out there. I mean, blogs, freebies, trainings, 2K in 2 hours micro course. I am opening up applications for my group coaching program, Ignite. They are actually open right now. We have our first cohort. We had our founding cohort um, earlier this year. Cohort 1 starts on August 10th. So, yes, get into it. HerIncomeEdit.com is how you can get connected to all things Her Income Edit and Nick Scott's. And I will see y'all in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.